Imagine for a second that every single library on Earth just burned down, like in a single afternoon.
Oh, wow, that is a terrifying thought.
Right, just gone in a flash of smoke. And, along with those libraries, every server farm, every hard drive, every physical history book is just completely erased from existence.
Just a total blank slate.
Exactly. Now, imagine you had to rely on just one language, like one single linguistic door, to keep an entire civilization alive and perfectly intact for 1,000 years. What would that language be?
I mean, it's a wild hypothetical.
It is, but if we look at the deep structural engineering of human communication, according to the sources for our deep dive today, the answer to that thought experiment is Sanskrit.
Yeah, and it really forces you to, completely reconsider what a language is actually capable of doing.
How do you mean?
Well, when we think about preserving a civilization, we usually imagine building those massive underground seed vaults.
Right, or digitizing records on resilient servers and hiding them in a mountain somewhere.
Exactly. But relying on the architecture of a spoken language to carry the entire weight of human history, philosophy, and science, that requires an entirely different paradigm.
It really does.
You have to start viewing language not just as a byproduct of culture, but as the foundational infrastructure of it.
And that infrastructure is exactly what we are unpacking in today's deep dive. Because this isn't just an ancient relic collecting dust in a museum somewhere.
No, not at all.
It's a highly sophisticated knowledge system, and it's actually catching the attention of modern computer scientists, which we'll get into later.
Which is just fascinating.
But to understand the mechanics of how a language can function like a piece of advanced technology, I think we first need to look at the weight of the words themselves.
Right?
We have to understand what the language was actually designed to process for the people using it.
Yeah, because we tend to view our daily language as a utilitarian tool,
Hmm.
right? You use it to order a coffee, send a quick text message to a friend, or, pass along basic information.
It's super transactional.
Exactly, transactional. But if you look at the Sanatan tradition, Sanskrit is often referred to as Dev Bhasha.
Dev Bhasha, which translates to what exactly?
It translates to the language of the gods. But stripping away the religious connotation for a moment, what that really signifies is a language engineered for ultimate truth.
Okay, that's heavy.
It is. The words weren't invented for casual transactional communication. They were meticulously crafted as vehicles for profound realization.
So they were designed to actually expand human consciousness.
Yes, and to transport incredibly complex knowledge across generations without losing their core meaning.
The parallels to our modern world are striking to me because today we are completely obsessed with subjects like artificial intelligence, quantum physics, the nature of consciousness.
Totally. The fundamental fabric of reality.
Right, and we treat these as cutting-edge 21st century preoccupations. Like we just invented these deep thoughts.
Like we're the first ones to ever ponder them.
Yeah, but thousands of years ago, Indian sages were meditating on those exact same questions. And Sanskrit was the tool they used for that inquiry.
And this is where it gets tricky, because when you try to force those massive ancient inquiries into modern English, the translation completely falls apart.
Just doesn't fit.
No. The English translation frequently flattens the original meaning into something almost unrecognizable.
Do you have an example of that?
Oh, definitely. Take a word that has been entirely co-opted by modern culture, yoga.
Oh, yeah. Yoga is everywhere.
Right. But the contemporary understanding often reduces it to gym exercises, physical stretching, or, rolling out a mat on a Tuesday evening after work.
Right, like wearing stretchy pants and drinking a green smoothie.
Exactly. But the etymological root in Sanskrit actually means connection.
Connection.
Yeah. It is the profound, active process of connecting with oneself, connecting with the natural world, and ultimately connecting with absolute truth.
Wow.
It's a cognitive and spiritual state, not a physical posture.
That's a huge difference. And you see that same flattening happen with a word like dharma, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because modern dictionaries almost always translate dharma simply as religion.
Which is so limiting.
It really is. I mean, calling dharma a religion is like calling gravity a suggestion. It completely misses the mark.
I love that analogy. It's so true.
Yeah, from what I read in our sources, dharma actually refers to the core essence that sustains something, like the intrinsic, unalterable nature of a thing.
Right, the fundamental property of its existence.
Exactly. So fire's dharma is heat. Water's dharma is cold. If you remove the heat from fire, it is no longer fire.
Because you've removed its dharma.
Right. So when ancient texts ask about human dharma, they aren't asking what church you belong to or what rituals you practice on Sunday.
No, they're asking a massive existential question.
Exactly. They're asking what is the fundamental sustaining essence of a human being?
That is just so much deeper than what's your religion.
Hmm.
And you can also consider the word guru.
Oh, man. Guru gets thrown around so casually now.
Right. We have marketing gurus, productivity gurus, real estate gurus.
Basically, anyone who gives you tips on the internet is a guru now.
Exactly. But the original Sanskrit breaks down into something much heavier, carrying a very specific mechanical action.
How does it break down?
Well, the syllable gu relates to darkness or ignorance, and ru relates to the dispeller, or the light.
So a guru is a dispeller of darkness.
Yes, a guru is not someone who just hands you a list of facts or productivity hacks. It is someone who actively provides the perspective necessary to lead you from darkness to light.
That's beautiful.
The transformational relationship, not a transactional one.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit, because to me, it sounds like translating Sanskrit into English is like trying to open a massive, complex zip file using a basic text editor.
Oh, that is a perfect way to describe it.
Right, like a word like dharma isn't just a noun you drop into a sentence, it's an entire philosophical zip file.
Yeah.
And when you speak it, you are handing the listener a compressed package of meaning just waiting to be extracted.
And when you, as the listener, open that linguistic zip file, you are getting an entire layered experience of philosophy, physics, and human thought all at once.
But here's my question. Dealing with a language made up of thousands of these highly compressed conceptual files presents a massive engineering problem, doesn't it?
Oh, a huge one.
Because you need a remarkably stable operating system to handle them. You can't just throw massive philosophical concepts around haphazardly for thousands of years, or the meaning will inevitably degrade.
No, it would become completely corrupted over time.
Right. If it's a game of telephone across 1,000 years, the core essence of humanity could easily warp into a recipe for cabbage soup if the transmission method isn't secure.
Exactly. And the operating system built to prevent that data corruption, to stop that game of telephone from ruining the message, is the strict, highly mathematical grammar of the language.
Okay, so let's get into the grammar, because this leads us to Panini, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You really cannot separate the grammar of Sanskrit from the work of Panini.
And who was he, for the listener who might not know?
Panini was a sage who lived roughly 2,500 years ago, and he authored a text called the Ashtatai.
Yashtai.
Right. And calling the Ashtati a grammar book is a bit like calling the blueprint for a nuclear reactor a drawing.
It's technically true, but vastly undersells it.
Exactly. Researchers and modern linguists consider it to be one of the most astonishing intellectual constructions in all of human history because of its sheer precision and economy.
Okay, let's break down the mechanics of that precision. Why is it considered so astonishing compared to, say, the grammar rules we all learn in grade school?
Because it operates entirely like a mathematical algorithm.
Really? Like math?
Literally. The Ashtadhyayi contains around 4,000 highly concise, incredibly specific sutras, or formulas.
Oh, 1,000 formulas.
Yeah, it is a completely self-referential system of rules that governs every single aspect of how words are formed, how they combine, and how sentences are structured.
So there's no guesswork.
None. You feed a root sound into Panini's formulas, apply the relevant rules in a specific sequence, and the output is a flawlessly constructed word with an unambiguous meaning.
Okay, I have to push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
4,000 rigid formulas. If I'm a student trying to express a new idea or write a poem, that sounds incredibly restrictive.
It does sound intimidating, doesn't it?
Yeah. We usually think of strict grammar, like a teacher slapping your wrist for ending a sentence with preposition as the enemy of fluid expression.
Right.
So doesn't a rulebook that massive inherently stifle creativity and lock you in? Was this just strict for the sake of being strict?
I get why you'd think that. It seems counterintuitive. But the rigidity exists at the structural level, not the expressive level.
Okay, explain that.
The strictness wasn't designed to stifle creativity. It was engineered entirely for data preservation.
They did a preservation.
Yes. Think about the historical context around 500 BCE. Other ancient civilizations were relying almost entirely on passing down knowledge orally through stories.
Right, around the campfire.
Exactly. And those stories naturally morphed, adapted, and lost details over time. based on the speaker's memory.
Because human memory was the only storage medium.
Precisely. If a language has loose rules, the ideas expressed in that language will naturally drift. Panini's 4,000 rules acted as a cryptographic lock on the language.
Oh, wow. So by standardizing the exact phonetic sounds and the precise formulas for combining them, you eliminate the drift.
You eliminate it entirely.
You create a perfect system for organizing and preserving data without a single bite of corruption over millennia, even if nothing is ever written down.
That's exactly it. The functional purpose was the survival of the knowledge.
That is mind-blowing.
It really is. When an oral tradition is governed by a mathematical framework, a student reciting a text 1,000 miles away or 1,000 years later will generate the exact same phonetic output and the exact same meaning as the original author.
So it ensures the zip file doesn't get corrupted in transit.
Perfectly said, yes.
Building on that concept of data preservation, it sounds like Panini's Ashtahai is essentially ancient computer code.
It really functions like it.
Like, it is an error-free algorithm designed to process human thought and reality. And that isn't just a metaphor, right? Because the structural similarities between this ancient grammar and modern computing actually sparked a major movement in technology.
It did. And this is a huge pivot in our deep dive today. In 1985, a researcher named Rick Briggs published a groundbreaking paper.
Right, titled Knowledge Representation in Sanskrit and Artificial Intelligence.
Yes. And the paper caused quite a stir. And unfortunately, it spawned a lot of internet myths over the years.
Oh, yeah, like the false claim that Sanskrit is the only language computers can speak.
Right, or that it's literally a programming language itself, like Python or C++, right?
Which is not true. Let's cut through that internet exaggeration and look at the actual mechanics of what Briggs discovered.
Sure. The core of Briggs' research focused on the hardest challenge in artificial intelligence, teaching a computer to understand the relationship between words without ambiguity.
Which is really hard because human languages, especially English, are notoriously messy.
So messy. They're full of idioms, double meanings, and structural ambiguities.
Give me an example of what would confuse an AI.
Okay, if I say, I saw the man with a telescope, a computer doesn't know if I used a telescope to see the man or if the man I saw was holding a telescope.
Ah, right, because the sentence structure is identical for both meanings.
Exactly. Semantic ambiguity is the enemy of AI knowledge representation.
Because the computer has to guess the context based on word order, and humans change word order and context constantly.
Exactly. But Briggs pointed out that the 1,000-year-old frameworks of Sanskrit grammar had already solved many of the semantic ambiguities that 1980s AI researchers were pulling their hair out over.
Wait, really?
Because of Panini's algorithms. Sanskrit uses highly specific suffixes and structural markers that define the exact role of a word in a sentence, regardless of where it is placed.
So word order doesn't matter.
Not at all. The relationship between the agent, the action, and the object is mathematically defined by the word itself.
So if you translate that telescope sentence into Sanskrit, the grammatical markers attached to the words leave absolutely zero room for interpretation.
Zero.
The computer wouldn't have to guess the context because the contextual data is hard-coded into the word itself.
Exactly. Modern computer scientists realize this ancient civilization somehow anticipated the exact logical structures required for machine learning and natural language processing.
That is insane. Thousands of years ago.
Thousands of years ago. And because its discipline structure is unparalleled, researchers today are still utilizing Sanskrit models.
Really? How so?
It's actively used in digital archiving, in projects aiming to flawlessly preserve ancient texts for the future, and as a comparative model in ongoing natural language processing research.
So it literally bridges ancient history and modern AI.
It proves that a spoken human language can function with the pure logic of mathematics.
Wow. Okay, so we have this flawless code, right? This perfectly engineered operating system capable of preventing data drift over thousands of years.
Right.
But an operating system is fundamentally useless if there isn't any meaningful software to run on it.
Good point.
So if we transition from the structural mechanics of the language to what it was actually carrying, we start to see the true soul of the civilization, don't we?
We do. And it forces you to look at how different cultures choose to leave their mark on the world.
How so?
Look at almost any other ancient civilization. We remember the Egyptians through the immense physical weight of the pyramids.
Right.
We remember the Romans through the Colosseum and their aqueducts. We uncover broken pillars, ruined cities, and stone inscriptions.
Physical monuments.
Physical monuments that inevitably weather, crumble, and decay over time.
Right. Dust to dust.
Exactly. But the Indian civilization chose an entirely different medium for its most important monuments. Its history, its profound philosophy, its very essence was preserved within the architecture of words.
They preserved an entire civilization in sound rather than in stone?
Yes, and the sheer volume of data preserved in that sound is staggering.
Tell me about the texts, the software running on this system.
The texts that run on this operating system, the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Gita, the Yoga Sutra, Ayurveda, these represent endless libraries of philosophy, medicine, astronomy, and ethics.
So Sanskrit holds a massive, thousands of years old knowledge bank that dwarfs the physical footprint of any ancient ruin.
By a landslide.
Mhm.
And when you engage with these texts, particularly the Vedas or the Upanishads, you aren't just reading dogmatic religious rules or historical accounts of kings and battles.
What are you reading?
You are facing the absolute deepest, most complex human questions imaginable.
Like the zip files we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Questions like, who am I beyond my physical body?
Right.
What actually happens after death? And what is the true fundamental nature of reality?
Those are heavy questions for anyone, let alone people thousands of years ago.
But the language was designed specifically to explore those concepts. Sanskrit isn't just an isolated chapter in Indian history, it is a crucial, illuminating chapter in human history.
It provides a highly detailed window into how an entire civilization thought.
Exactly. How they organized knowledge and how they interpreted the universe around them.
You know, it makes you reflect on the ultimate utility of the languages we speak today.
It really does.
Because many languages survive merely on people's lips for daily transactions. They exist to trade goods, to negotiate treaties, to say hello and goodbye.
Right, the transactional stuff we mentioned at the start.
Yeah, and there is immense value in that practical utility, of course. But Sanskrit survived the rise and fall of empires because it embedded itself into the very soul and the ultimate questioning of a civilization.
It didn't just facilitate trade, it became the architecture of their deepest thoughts.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it still functions today, doesn't it?
It does. It functions today as an invisible bridge, connecting the present directly to a profound past.
Like a living artifact.
Exactly.
Mm.
When a child first learns to say the syllable Om, or when a devotee chants a deeply complex verse from the Gita in a temple, or even when a linguistic researcher parses a dusty manuscript in a university lab, they are directly connected to the roots of the ancient past.
Because of Panini's strict rules?
Because of those rules, yes.
Yeah.
The exact phonetic vibrations that were spoken thousands of years ago are echoing in the present, carrying the exact same uncorrupted meaning.
So, to summarize what we've uncovered in this deep dive, Sanskrit is clearly far more than a dead language of antiquity.
Much more.
Through its multi-layered vocabulary, those conceptual zip files like yoga and dharma and the mathematical perfection of Panini's 4,000 rules, it serves as a remarkably robust knowledge system. It anticipated the logical framework necessary for modern artificial intelligence, and it flawlessly preserved the deepest philosophical inquiries of an entire civilization without needing to stack a single stone monument.
It stands as a testament to the enduring, monumental power of human intellect. We've seen how a language like Sanskrit was engineered so meticulously to expand human consciousness, forcing its speakers to deeply contemplate the multi-layered nature of reality with absolute precision.
It's incredible.
But, before we go, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
Seeing what Sanskrit achieved, it should make you deeply evaluate the linguistic environments we inhabit today.
In our modern world.
Yes. Think about our modern, highly abbreviated, emoji-filled digital communication. We live in a time where incredibly complex human emotions are frequently reduced to a single, tiny symbol on a screen.
Right, a thumbs up or a crying face.
Exactly. So here's a question for you to ponder. Is the language you're using every single day expanding your ability to understand the depth of the world around you, or is it subtly shrinking the boundaries of your own consciousness?